I finally got the Nebula Camo in Call of Duty Black Ops 6 as a normal person. I'm honestly not a streamer who plays the game for 12 plus hours a day or a pro player. I'm just an average player who is able to obtain the Nebula Camo. So I firmly believe if I'm able to get the Nebula Camo in Call of Duty Black Ops 6 as just a normal person, then you can too. Now, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. This camo is going to take a really long time to get, especially if you don't have all the time in the world to be able to go after Nebula. If you are only limited to a couple hours a day, or even maybe, let's say, a few hours after you get off work, or whatever the case may be, whatever your schedule is looking like, if you have only a few hours to actually be going after Nebula and working towards it, it's going to take a really long time. It's honestly going to take a good few days in-game time, so I would be prepared for an extremely long grind. Now, if this doesn't seem appealing to you at all and you don't want to spend a good couple in-game days to be able to go after this camo, then I completely get that. Honestly, this camo is going to suck up the majority of the time you have to be able to play if you are only given a limited amount of time to be able to play the game. So as a warning, if you'd rather just enjoy the few hours you have and the limited amount of time you have to be able to play Call of Duty Black Ops 6, and you'd rather spend that time just simply playing the game rather than grinding and going after this camo, then I completely get that. Maybe for you, it's not the best idea to go after Nebula. But if you really, really do want this camo and you're willing to spend the limited amount of time you have to be able to get Nebula on going after it, then just know it is completely obtainable as a normal person. You can definitely get it. It's just going to take a lot longer for the average person compared to someone who is a big streamer who streams the game for 12 plus hours a day and it's their job and they are pretty much getting paid on stream to go after the camo, and they have, pretty much all the time in the world to obtain it. Or like a pro player who, when they're not doing the whole pro thing, they have some time to be able to stream and go after it, or whatever the case might be. If you're someone who's just considered to be more of an average player, this is going to take a long time. You definitely won't get it nowhere near as fast as a full-time streamer or full-time content creator or whatever the case might be. I'm gonna be honest, this camo, the Nebula camo, honestly took longer to obtain than the dark matter camo. And it honestly shows just in my in-game time played. I have more time put into zombies than I do multiplayer. In multiplayer, most of the time I was going after dark matter, but some of the time I was just playing the game just to enjoy it and taking a little break from going after dark matter, or I was playing a little bit of ranked and taking a break from going after dark matter. But most of the time it was going after dark matter. And with Nebula, it was the same thing. Sometimes I was maybe going after like an Easter egg or playing with a friend or what's not, but majority of the time I was going after the Nebula camo. And I have an extra day played in zombies compared to multiplayer, and that's in-game time. So I have a whole extra day played in zombies compared to multiplayer. That's how much longer it took to get Nebula compared to dark matter. Now, obviously, when you compare the two, dark matter is going to be a lot more challenging and a lot more stressful, just because dark matter, you're obviously going against real people, because dark matter is a multiplayer mastery camo. So to obtain that camo, you have to obviously go up against real people. You're challenged against real people, and with the matchmaking systems put into the game, you're going to have some really hard matches, and overall it's just going to be a lot harder to obtain dark matter just because you're going against real people. But for Nebula, it might be a little bit easier of a grind and more relaxed of a grind, because you're just killing zombies and you're not going up against real people. But because of that, I think they intentionally made the Nebula grind a lot longer, and they made it to where it takes a lot more time to get Nebula, just for the reason being of, to get Nebula, you're just playing zombies, whereas with multiplayer, to get dark matter, you're going up against real people and what's not. But yeah, I just wanted to get that out of the way. I just wanted to pretty much give you a warning before you go after Nebula. If you're thinking about it and you're not entirely sure if you want to start the grind yet, or maybe you just started, or whatever the case might be, just know Nebula is completely obtainable as a normal person, but just know it's going to take a lot of time to get the camo, and especially if you have very limited time to be able to play the game, that entire time that you have to be able to play per day or whatever is going to be dedicated to strictly going against Nebula if you want to really be able to obtain this camo, at least within a reasonable time. But again, it's completely obtainable as a normal person, and if I'm able to get the camo, then I think 100% anyone can get this camo. And you might do it faster than me, or you might do it slower than me. That's perfectly fine. At the end of the day, so long as you get the camo, that's all that matters. Anyhow, with all of that being said, I want to give you a couple tips on how to get the Nebula camo. Now, all these tips are just kind of stuff I've learned over the course of getting Nebula, and a lot of stuff that really helped me out, and a lot of stuff that helped to make the grind easier for me, and a lot of stuff that you should just be aware of and know about going into the grind. This is by no means a full breakdown on how to get Nebula. I think the grind is really straightforward on how to obtain Nebula, and a lot of guides on how to get Nebula, they'll really just break down exactly how to get the camo, but I think it's very straightforward. You just start out getting your critical kills done on whatever weapon, and then once you get all your critical kills done on a weapon, you then are able to get the 2 special camos, and then once you get your 2 special camos complete, you then are able to get the Mystic Gold camo. And then once you get Mystic Gold on every single gun within a set category, so let's say you get Mystic Gold on all your ARs, gone through all your ARs, you've done all the critical kills, all the special challenges, and then you did the Mystic Gold challenge for all your ARs, or at least the required amount of ARs, should I say. Then you'll obtain the Opal challenge, and then you could do the Opal challenge on all your ARs, or at least just the required amount of ARs. And then once you pretty much do that for 33 weapons, so you get 33 weapons Opal, you then unlock the Afterlife challenge. And then once you get the Afterlife challenge completed on 33 weapons, you then unlock the Nebula challenge. And then from there, you can either pick and choose which weapons you want to get Nebula. So you could only do Nebula on a couple weapons, or you can go ahead and do Nebula on all 33 weapons that you just did. and you'll actually receive a bonus calling card for getting Nebula on all 33 weapons that you just did. So that's actually what I did. I went and I got Nebula on all 33 weapons that I personally did. And upon getting Nebula on all 33 weapons, I received an additional calling card, meaning when you first unlock Nebula, you'll get a calling card, but then doing Nebula on 33 weapons, you'll get an additional calling card as well. Given if you don't want the calling card, you don't really care about it, that you don't have to get Nebula on all 33 weapons you just did. You could, again, just pick and choose which ones you want. It's really up to you. You have that freedom to do so. But anyways, getting right into the tips. The first tip I have for you is this grind can be very boring at times when playing. Unfortunately, when you're just killing zombies over and over and over again, and you're playing, round after round after round, and then you finish the game and you go right back in and play round after round after round, just killing hordes of zombies over and over again, it can get very repetitive and very boring when playing. So while you play, not all the time, but in the times where you're starting to get a little bored and it's getting a little repetitive, I suggest while you're playing, watching something like maybe a podcast or show or a YouTube video or whatever the case might be, or at very least maybe listen to some music so you're not bored. Let's say you're playing on a monitor and you have a second monitor, you can play the game on your first monitor, put something else on your second monitor. Or if you just only have one monitor or you're playing on TV or whatever, maybe put something up on another device so that while you're playing, you at least have something else to keep you entertained while you're playing so you're not bored. Obviously, you want to keep most of your attention on the game so you're not going down and dying. But just for the times when you are getting bored, it's kind of nice to be able to have something else to help you get through it and help you so you're not bored. Honestly, this was very, very huge for me and helped me out a lot. I was constantly throwing on a podcast or a YouTube video or listening to music or even going into a Discord with some friends and talking to them while you're doing it. Just anything to occupy your mind when you are sitting there doing the same repetitive thing over and over and over again. It's nice just to have that distraction while you're playing. The next tip I have is you should have a solid reason to why you want to get the Nebula camo. What I mean by this is if you are going to go after Nebula, make sure you have a good reason to go after it. And that can be whatever reason it is for you. It could be because maybe you really, really love the looks of Nebula camo and you just really want to get a master camo. You love how Nebula looks and maybe that's why you want to obtain it. Or you just want to maybe try to challenge yourself and see if you're able to obtain a mastery camo. And that's the reason why you want to go ahead and get Nebula. Or maybe you've never gotten a mastery camo before at all, and this is your first time doing a mastery camo grind, and you just want to see if you're actually able to obtain a mastery camo and get the camo. Whatever the case might be, just have a good reason to go after the camo to keep you motivated. Just don't go after the camo because you see everyone else going after the camo and you're like, oh, well, if everyone else is going after the camo, maybe I should go after it too and get it. That's not a good reason. That's not a reason that's going to keep you motivated. You need to have something to keep you motivated. Even if it's something as simple as you want the camo and maybe your friend wants to get the camo too, and now both of you are kind of doing a little bit of a competition to see who can get the camo first. Whatever the case might be, just have a good reason to get the camo. It'll keep you motivated and it'll keep pushing you to want to really obtain the camo. Additionally, you need to know that you could substitute DLC weapons for base weapons. So you can, for example, do 2 DLC weapons to skip out on maybe per se the rocket launchers if you wanted to. Now, given the rocket launchers aren't bad within zombies, if we're talking multiplayer, you would definitely want to skip the rocket launchers. But in zombies, they're really not that bad. But honestly, if you just don't want to do them, then you don't have to. You could substitute 2 DLC weapons to skip out on doing them. And honestly, that's what I did. And again, like, rocket launchers aren't by any means bad in zombies. I just didn't want to deal with them at all. I didn't do them in multiplayer. So I just didn't really want to do them in zombies at all. I would rather do 2 guns that I like a lot more and would use a lot more compared to the rocket launchers. I'll never really use rocket launchers, so there's no point in really having master camo on them. Whereas, like, at least with the 2 DLC weapons I substituted for them, that being the Krieg C and the SOG, I'm going to be using the Krieg C and the SOG a good amount, especially the Krieg C. I'm going to be using that a good amount. So in my mind, it was just a better idea to do those weapons over the rocket launchers. But just so you know, that is an option, and you could do that with anything. If there's just a gun that you don't really like that much, you could 100% substitute it for a DLC weapon. And as more and more DLC weapons come out, the grind is honestly going to get a lot easier, because you could just switch out a bunch of weapons that you don't really like and don't really want to use for DLC weapons that are a lot better and that you do enjoy using. With that being said, just so you know, you don't have to do all the DLC weapons that come out, as they don't get added into the camo grinds. You only need to do 33 weapons in total. I want to make that very clear. You only need to do 33 weapons in total. Those 33 weapons can be all base weapons or a mix between base weapons and DLC weapons. The choice is yours. So it's honestly all up to you and how you want to approach it. At the end of the day, so long as you're getting 33 weapons complete, meaning you get 33 weapons afterlife, or should I say you get the afterlife camo on 33 weapons, you'll then unlock the Nebula challenge, and then you can get the Nebula camo on any of those 33 weapons that you just did. And again, those 33 weapons can be maybe all the base weapons, or a couple base weapons and a couple DLC weapons, or whatever the case might be. But the DLC weapons don't just get automatically added to the grind. So don't think just because a DLC weapon comes out that you have to do that weapon. You only have to do 33 weapons. Furthermore, you should honestly take your time to get Nebula, as there's no need to try to push yourself to rush to get it. Just go at your own pace. While obviously you want to be able to obtain Nebula as quickly as you can, so that you have the master camo and it's done and over with, and you can enjoy using the master camo, there's gonna be times where, especially with limited time, you're going at the grind and maybe you play a match or 2 of zombies and you're just like, honestly, I don't want to do any more today. I'd rather just take a little break from doing Nebula and maybe play some multiplayer or play a different game, or whatever the case might be. Just at the end of the day, take your time to get Nebula. Yes, you want to be able to get it within a reasonable time. You don't want to obtain the camo and then by the time you obtain it, it's like the end of the year and the next Call of Duty is coming out. You want to get it and have enough time to still play the game and enjoy the game while using Nebula, but by no means don't push yourself to, the brink trying to get this camo. Just go at your own pace, and regardless of what that pace might be, whether it's slow and steady, maybe you like to go a little bit faster, whatever the case might be, just go at your own pace. Likewise, take breaks if needed. Honestly, breaks are super important, especially with this grind, because again, it could be very boring at times. It can get very repetitive, and even if you're playing and you're maybe watching YouTube video or something on the side, even after a while doing that, that could get boring as well. And at that point, just take a break. There's no need to be pushing yourself to limits in which you really shouldn't just for a camo. So take breaks, maybe play a match or two of zombies and then take a few minute break, go do whatever that might be, walk around for a little bit, go get some food, maybe just sit there and chat with a friend for a little bit. Whatever the case might be, just take breaks. Breaks are super important, and honestly they will help out a lot and just make the grind a little bit less stressful for you. Moreover, something I learned that really helped me was after round 31, more special and elite zombies spawn. So if you're doing the Opal challenge or the Nebula challenge, then play after round 31 to get more progress towards those challenges. However, I would only go to maybe like round 41, because after that it starts to get really tough, and just the difficulty gets really hard. Now, given there's another method that's a lot faster for getting Opal and Nebula, and I'll talk about that later, but if you don't want to use that method at all, then 100% after round 31 you're gonna get more special and elite zombies. So play till round 31. After that, you'll get a lot more progress done towards your Opal challenge, which is killing special zombies, and a lot more progress towards your Nebula challenge, which is killing elite zombies. Really, that's the only time you'd want to go past round 31. And that kind of brings me into my next tip, which is I would exfil on round 31 for most games, as after that it gets much harder to kill the zombies and there's a pretty dramatic XP cutoff. So really, most of the time I would only go to round 31 and then exfil and then start a new zombies match. So really, I would only be going past round 31 if you really need to. So that might be to get your Opal challenge done or your Nebula challenge done, as I was just talking about. Or that might be to complete whatever camo. Like maybe you're very close to getting a camo done and you get to round 31 and you're like, oh, I need just 20 more critical kills and then I'll get my final critical kill camo done. At that point, like, you might as well just stay past round 31, finish out your challenge, and then at that point the next exfil wouldn't be till 36, so you could play to 36 in exfil if you really wanted the XP, or if you just wanted to be more efficient with your time and you don't really care about exfilling, you could just leave the match. It's really no big deal. Moving on, Liberty Falls is currently the easiest map to play. Now, I'm talking about currently, right now, as of making this video, which is, I'd say, like the 3/4 mark through season 1. So at this time of recording the video, we are still in season 1 of Call of Duty Black Ops 6. So the only maps that are currently out are Liberty Falls, Terminus, and Citadel. Those are the only 3 maps that are out currently. Obviously, in the future, there's going to be more maps coming out, and maybe those future maps might be easier than Liberty Falls, but as it stands right now, Liberty Falls is currently the easiest map to play. The reason being is because it's the smallest map, so it's easy to get to where you need to go, and there's honestly a lot of really good zombie training spots, so it just makes life a lot easier to be able to play a map like Liberty Falls compared to Terminus, just because, for one, the setup is so much easier. Terminus, you have to go through and turn on all the power gens, whereas like Liberty Falls, you don't have to do any of that. You just kind of get right in and you can just go at it, and it's a lot smaller, so it's easier to go and buy your perks and easier to go pack punch your weapon and easier to just navigate around the map. And overall, Liberty Falls is just considered to be a lot easier of a map. So I would truthfully play Liberty Falls for the easiest experience. And I'd say majority of the time I played going after Nebula was on Liberty Falls. So yeah, Liberty Falls, definitely the best map to play right now. Additionally, the Frenzy Guard field upgrade is the best currently out of all the field upgrades. Now, again, in the future, there's going to be more field upgrades that are going to come out, and maybe something will come out that is better than Frenzy Guard. But as of right now, when recording this video, Frenzy Guard is currently the best field upgrade there is, as it could help you in a pinch. It has honestly saved my life so many times. I have been backed up, stuck in a corner, and used my Frenzy Guard, and it has gotten me out of that situation and allowed me to stay alive and continue to play, especially when it's upgraded with the right augments, in which I'll get into augments in a second. But when you put the right augments onto Frenzy Guard, it just makes it so much better and so much more useful, and will just help out a ton. Which brings me into my next tip, which is about augments. Augments are super important. Honestly, augments are probably one of the biggest things in zombies to help you succeed and do well. Augments just help make the game so much easier, as they make things so much more useful and more powerful. Let's take, for example, Juggernaut. You could make it to where you could increase how much health Juggernaut gives you using an augment, as well as you can make your plates that you put on a lot more stronger by adding an augment. And that right there increases your survivability in zombies a lot more, just from adding 2 augments to Juggernaut. And that's just one instance where augments are super useful. Really, for everything that you could put augments on, it's going to make it better. Now, obviously, there's going to be some augments that are better than others, and there's going to be some things that are going to be more useful. I'd say your most useful ones that you're going to want to be researching first are Juggernaut, Stamina, and Deadshot. I'd say those are the 3 most important things to get researched first. After that, it's kind of up to you. You could research some more perks. I would definitely 100% research Frenzy Guard for your first field upgrade. Honestly, that's really the only field upgrade you're gonna need for the most part. There is another field upgrade that's gonna be helpful later down the line, which will be Aether Shroud. So I'd research that as well. But really, those are the only 2, Frenzy Guard and Aether Shroud, are the 2 field upgrades that you really need to research. And then for your ammo mods, I'd say the 2 best are Napalm Burst and Deadwire, and I'll explain later why those 2 are so useful. But there's also a lot of challenges that require you to use other ammo mods, so really, like, I'd research all your ammo mods. But I'd say, like, the key ones, definitely your perks are the best, and the key ones are Juggernaut, Stamina, and Deadshot. Now, given I'm not going to say I know the best augments for everything in the game, I just use what I think is the best and what is the most useful for me. But I should have in the background a showcase of all the augments that I'm using on everything, just so you can get an idea of what I used to help me out. So you should, hopefully, when I edit everything, you should see all the augments I'm using on all my perks, ammo mods, field upgrades, etc. And if you don't know what augments to use, I would definitely run what I'm using for now until you kind of figure out what you like the best, and then you could change stuff from there. Furthermore, I would make sure to utilize the zombie builds feature, as it's super useful to have your custom builds on all your weapons. Now, if you don't know what the zombie builds feature is, pretty much when you're in zombies and you choose a weapon and you create your own custom loadout for that weapon. So let's take the XMP, for example. Let's say you want to start working on the XMP and you equipped it and you put on your own custom attachments. You'll notice once you put on all your custom attachments, one of the options it shows is to equip that custom build that you just made as a zombie build. Now, what that does is it now allows you to always have those custom attachments on that weapon when you, per se, buy it off the wall or get it out of the mystery box, which is super, super, super useful because let's say I'm doing a weapon and I finish it and I still have a good amount of time left in the zombies game that I'm in and I don't want to leave and restart. I can run over to a wall buy and buy a weapon that I know I need to work on, and upon buying that weapon I'll have my own custom attachments on it compared to a bunch of random attachments that I don't really want on it, which is just so useful because having your own custom attachments is way better than some random builds that could just throw off your game and make it a lot harder to get your challenges done. So I would 100% recommend going through every weapon, or at least all of the 33 weapons you plan on doing, and making a custom zombies build for all of those 33 weapons that you want to do, as it'll make life so much easier for you and will just be extremely useful and helpful. Likewise, gobblegums can be really useful, but they're not needed. So don't stress about what gobblegums you should use, and if you're maybe not using them a lot, don't stress about having to use them. You don't have to be using gobblegums all the time. I personally didn't really use that many gobblegums throughout my grinds. There were obviously a few that definitely helped out and I had equipped in case I needed them, and there was times where they came in very useful, like the one that gives you a max ammo. That one's very useful. Sometimes you could really use ammo in a pinch and you can't afford it, then you go ahead and use that gumball. Bam, you get a free max ammo, and you know that could potentially save your life. Another really great one is Anywhere But Here. If you are in a tricky situation and maybe you don't have your field upgrade fully charged and you feel like you're about to die, you just eat that gumball and it'll randomly teleport you to somewhere else in the map, somewhere away from the zombies, which will save your life. So that one's very useful. And I'd say Killjoy is also another good one that has helped me, which spawns free insta-kill. Given when you're doing your critical kills, you don't really want to be picking up insta-kills that much because you'll just be killing the zombies so fast you can miss out on some critical kills. Same with nukes. Obviously, like, you don't want to be picking up every single nuke you see, as you want to keep as many zombies as possible to train them up and get all your headshots done, or whatever challenge you're working on, get them done, compared to like if you grab a nuke and just kill all the zombies, you might have just lost the potential to get your challenge done for that round, and now you have to wait till the next round. Obviously, if you're in a bad situation and you really need a nuke to save your life, it could be very useful, but I wouldn't just be grabbing nukes all the time. I would be smart about grabbing nukes as well as insta kills. There has definitely been times where I needed an insta-kill, and using that gobblegum has helped. So don't get me wrong, gobblegums can be extremely, extremely useful. And if you run the right ones, they could help you out in a pinch and potentially save your life. So I would make a gobblegum pack with a few gobblegums that you think would really help you, especially your first 3 gobblegums, the ones that you spawn in with. Definitely make sure those first 3 are 3 gobblegums that you think could really help you in a pinch and you could really utilize when needed. But don't stress about having to use gobblegums all the time. It's not like you have to use a gobblegum every round or just be using them every single game. That's just not the case. I can go a good few games without using any gobblegums, but then when I did need them, they came in useful. Moreover, napalm bursts is good for killing manglers and armored zombies, and then dead wire is good for killing amalgams, abominations, and the doppelgast. Now this is very useful information to have because it can make your life a lot easier when going after a certain challenge. Obviously, if you're going after a special challenge and it requires you to use brain rot or cryo freeze or whatever, obviously going to want to run those. But let's say you're going after your opal challenge. To be able to get the opal challenge completed, you have to get special zombie kills. So if you are playing per se Liberty Falls, the special zombies on that map will be the manglers. So you're going to want to be running the napalm burst to be able to kill the manglers faster. Whereas let's say now you're playing on Citadel, the special zombies on Citadel are the doppelgasts. So you're going to be wanting to run Deadwire to be able to kill the doppelgast faster. So depending on what map you're playing and what challenge you're going after and what situation you're in, it's going to be dependent on what ammo mod you're going to want to use. But really, I'd say the two best are going to be Napalm Burst and Deadwire, just depending on what map you're playing and what challenge you're going after. Moving on, a useful tip for you to know is that the Wonderfizz machine spawns on round 25 on top of the bank roof in Liberty Falls, and then it spawns on round 25 on the half sunken ship in Terminus. And then as for Citadel, it spawns on round 25 in the upstairs part of the building in the starting area. So if you didn't know that the Wonderfizz machine spawns on round 25 on all the maps and you didn't know the locations, now you know. At round 25, at least playing regular zombies, if you're just playing standard zombies experience, the Wonderfizz is going to spawn on round 25. And again, on Liberty Falls, that's going to be on top of the bank. In Terminus, that's going to be on the half sunken ship. And then in Citadel, it's going to be upstairs in the building in the starting area. As for directed mode, if you're playing directed mode, I believe the Wonderfizz is just always there, honestly. So if you just go to the location in which the Wonderfizz would normally spawn when playing directed mode, it should already be spawned in there regardless of the round. Additionally, for your weapon builds, I suggest using a suppressor for extra salvage, as this will be super useful just because the more salvage you're earning, the faster you could upgrade your weapon rarity and the faster you can get ammo mods. So I highly suggest running a suppressor on every single weapon, as it will give you more salvage, and obviously the more salvage you're earning, the better. Also, I suggest using the biggest magazine possible on pretty much all the weapons. I'd say there's a few weapons that you can make an exception for. Most of the LMGs you can make an exception for. You don't really need the biggest possible magazine on an LMG because the magazine on them are already so big. But the majority of weapons, I would run the biggest magazine on, as just having that extra ammo can be so helpful and can help you out in a pinch. Having those last few bullets can really save your life and can be the difference between you getting a challenge done and not getting a challenge done. So as I said, for most weapons, you're going to want to be running a suppressor and the biggest magazine possible. As for everything else, it's completely up to you. You could really put whatever else you want onto the weapon. I will put up a few weapon builds on screen just so you could get an idea of what I ran on the majority of my weapons, and just so you can get an idea of what worked best for me and what was the ideal build for me. But really, the ideal build is going to be different for everyone. Everyone's going to have their own personal preference, and everyone's going to want to customize their weapon differently. I just think so long as you have a suppressor on your weapon and the biggest magazine on your weapon, then that's the most important thing, and everything else is up to you. You could do whatever you want from there. But yeah, I will put up on screen a few weapon builds just so you can get a general idea of what I used and what helped me out. And so if you're not sure what to run, then you can run the builds I use and see if they're useful for you. Furthermore, I would play the directed mode to have the easiest experience possible, as you can cap the round at 11 and just get all your challenges done without things getting that intense, especially if you're playing directed mode on Liberty Falls and you go and cap your round at 11. Things will be nice and easy and it won't get too crazy. There's not going to be like 1,000 zombies spawning. The difficulty won't be that bad, and it'll honestly be the easiest experience possible if you're looking to have the easiest experience possible. But just know you might not get your challenges done as fast because of the nerfs done to directed mode. It will take a lot longer to get all your challenges done just because there's only a limited amount of zombies per round, and it takes a while for each round to kind of start again or to repeat. So while directed mode can be extremely useful in helping you out in the grind and can make things a lot easier, in my personal opinion, at least for the majority of challenges, it's going to slow the grind down. But just know it's there, it's an option, and it could definitely be super useful. And especially for the later camo challenges you have to go after, it could be very useful. And I'll go into that more in a little bit, but just know directed mode is there and it could definitely help make the grind easier. Likewise, I would definitely play the directed mode to get the LR762, which is one of the sniper rifles, and the GS45, which is one of the pistols, done, because to get the critical kills with those weapons, it's a lot easier to do it in directed mode, as when you pack a punch both of these weapons, they get explosive rounds. So it's a lot harder to get your critical kills done once you pack a punch them. Just because obviously if there's a horde of zombies that you just trained up and you go to shoot one of the zombies with explosive rounds, it's just gonna blow up majority of the horde. And out of that good portion of zombies that you killed, you're only gonna get one critical kill out of it just because you're blowing the zombies up. So I would definitely do both those weapons, the LR762 and the GS45s, in directed mode and just cap that round at 11 and just get all your critical kills done for both those weapons, as it'll make your life so much easier and will just help you out a ton. As of right now, those are the only two weapons that when you pack a punch them, they get explosive rounds. There might be more weapons later down the road that could potentially do that, but as of right now, it's just the LR762 and the GS45. But if there is any other weapon like that in the future and you want to do that weapon for whatever reason, then 100% do it in directed mode. Moreover, the third person mode can actually be very useful for getting your hip fire kills done, which is one of the special challenges, and your point blank kills done, which is another special challenge that you have on a few weapons. And it's honestly just good for switching things up if you wanted to. I think a lot of people forget that third person mode is in the game for zombies, and they just completely forget that it's even a thing, and it doesn't even cross their mind, so they never utilize it. But thing is, it honestly can be very useful. So it's something that you should try utilizing and see if it's something that can work for you. As in my experience, switching to the third person mode, again, it made getting those hip fire kills a lot easier in my opinion, as well as the point blank kills a lot easier. And it was just sometimes good just to switch to the third person mode if I wanted to just like switch things up and have kind of a different experience, regardless of what challenge I was going after. Sometimes I would just get bored of playing in the first person mode and would switch to third person to kind of switch up my experience and make things a little bit more fresh, which obviously made it a little bit more engaging. Now, obviously, after a while, third person mode, if you're playing it a lot, is going to get boring. And at that point, you just want to switch back to the first person mode. But I think it's nice to switch between the two once in a while, as it does help out, in my opinion. Moreover, I would use the Aether Shroud to get your melee kills for the Afterlife challenge. What I mean by that is if you run the augment on the Aether Shroud that allows you to switch to your dedicated melee weapon when you activate Aether Shroud, and then when you get kills with that dedicated melee weapon, it extends the Aether Shroud's time. Just because of that feature alone, it allows for getting the Afterlife challenge done for the melee weapons so much easier. Like, if you are stuck doing the Afterlife challenge for the melee weapons, or, you know, when you get to that point and you're finally able to do the Afterlife challenge on the melee weapons, 100% use the Aether Shroud field upgrade with that one augment I just talked about, and you will breeze through the Afterlife challenge for the melee weapons. Honestly, everything else you don't have to use the Aether Shroud field upgrade. You can get the Afterlife camo very easily on every other weapon, but just for the melee weapons in particular, because you have to get very up close to the zombies, and obviously when you get very close to the zombies, the likelihood of you getting hit is very high. That Aether Shroud comes in clutch. And if you are utilizing it to its full potential, what I was doing was I was training up a horde of zombies. I would then activate my Aether Shroud and I would just start killing all the zombies with my melee weapon. I can get 20, 30, 40 kills with my melee weapon using the Aether Shroud, just because the timer would keep getting extended. So you could definitely get the challenge done very easily and very quickly using Aether Shroud for the melee weapons, at least, you know, just to get the Afterlife challenge done. Finally, the last tip I have for zombies to make this grind a lot easier, to make the Nebula grind a lot easier, is I would personally play directed mode on Liberty Falls to get your Opal challenges done and your Nebula challenges done, as playing directed mode on Liberty Falls is the easiest and the fastest way to get your Opal challenges done and your Nebula challenges done. Now, I know some people might not like this idea because you might feel like you're cheesing the game and using a method in which isn't intended. And if that's the case, I get that. That's perfectly fine. That's why earlier in the video I suggested, if you just want to play regularly, then go past round 31 and you can get the Opal challenge and Nebula challenge done by just playing regularly and getting past round 31 and, you know, going to like 41. But if you want the fastest and easiest possible experience, play directed mode. The reason being is because, at least on Liberty Falls, when you play the directed mode, when you start to progress through the Easter egg, so let's say you get to round 11, and then once you do like the first step of the Easter egg, you'll get a mangler to spawn every single round after that. So you can just sit there and farm this mangler that spawns each round over and over and over and over again and get your Opal challenge done. Now, I didn't even know about this when I was getting my Opal challenges done, so I just had to get my Opal challenges done normally. If I could, I would have used directed mode to get my Opal challenges done, but I didn't even know about it, so I was just, you know, playing the game regularly and got my Opal challenges done normally playing the game. But then when I found out about this, obviously I was like, oh my god, what the heck, I could have done this. But then I found out that you could also get the Nebula challenge done easier by playing directed mode by doing pretty much the same thing. You start to progress through the Easter egg in directed mode, and you get to a certain point in the Easter egg where you place down a canister and you are supposed to kill an elite zombie next to the canister by a trap, and it progresses the Easter egg. But instead of doing that, you just place the canister down and elite zombie spawns. You kill the elite zombie and then kill off all the zombies. The round repeats itself. You place the canister down again, elite zombie spawns, and you just keep doing that over and over and over and over again. And every single time without fail, once the round ends and you then place that canister down again, an elite zombie will always spawn, and killing that elite zombie counts towards your Nebula challenge. So personally, I got every single one of my Nebula challenges done by playing directed mode on Liberty Falls using that strategy. Now, I'm not going to fully show you how to do the setup and everything and show you the full strategy for directed mode on Liberty Falls, because this video will just be way too long. But just simply go onto YouTube, look up how to get Nebula faster using directed mode on Liberty Falls, and I guarantee you'll have a few dozen videos pop up showing you exactly how to do it step by step. So yeah, that will make the grind so much easier and will save you so much time and make it so you get your camo a lot faster and you could just be done and over with the grind. So I highly recommend playing directed mode on Liberty Falls to get your Opal challenge done and your Nebula challenge done. And as I said earlier, you could do the rest of the grind in directed mode as well if you wanted to. I really think that to do your criticals, your special kills, and your Mystic Gold challenge, those you could just play normally for. But if you want to, you could use directed mode for those as well. Anyhow, those are really all the tips I have to help you to obtain the Nebula camo within Call of Duty Black Ops 6 and to make the grind easier for you and to help you to get this camo as fast and as efficiently as possible. Now, as a little bonus tip, I will say there are always going to be bugs and glitches out there in the game, at least for zombies, and a lot of those bugs and glitches, they're gonna come and go. Like, a lot of them will get discovered, and then sometimes it takes a while for the developers to kind of fix it and for them to take it out of the game. Glitch can be out for like a day or two and then it gets patched, or it could be out for like a few weeks. But with that being said, we all know that there's glitches in zombies, and a lot of them can help you to make the Nebula grind easier. Now, I'm not saying you have to utilize any glitches to get Nebula done. Personally, I didn't use any glitches at all to get Nebula done because I didn't really look into any of them. I was just kind of playing the game. But given I do know there are glitches out there, I don't know if they're out there currently, especially, at the time of making this video, there might not be anything out there. Especially if you're watching the video later, who knows? There could be a few glitches out, there might not be anything out. But I will say, if you want to make this grind easier and you want to make obtaining Nebula easier, then a possibility would be to look into what glitches are out for zombies right now and see if any of those glitches are useful to getting Nebula easier, whether it's for getting the critical kills, special challenges, Mystic Gold, Opal, so on and so forth. If it can help you in any area of the grind or even the whole grind, you might as well utilize it to make the grind faster. Because at the end of the day, a lot of these glitches, they might not be intended for use, but they're in the game and they're there and they make your life easier. So you might as well use them to your advantage, especially if it's helping you just cut a huge portion of time off of the grind. You might as well do it. If you're someone who doesn't really like to do glitches though, you want to do it all legit, you want to stay away from any of that stuff, I get that. That's perfectly fine. And honestly, more power to you. You want to do the grind completely legit and playing regular without utilizing any sort of glitch at all, that's perfectly fine. And it is completely possible to do the grind without doing any glitches. As I said, I did the whole Nebula grind without utilizing any sort of glitch at all, but I just figured I'd mention that they are out there and they can be useful. So don't be afraid to look up a few glitches and just look into them and see if they could potentially help you out. Anyhow, that's all the tips I have. That's everything I have to say on how to get the Nebula camo in Call of Duty Black Ops 6. This is everything I've learned and everything that I think can help you out, and just everything that has helped me and I think that could help you. Those are just all my tips, and I really do hope that you found this video helpful, and I hope you learned something, and I hope I made the Nebula grind a lot easier for you. At the end of the day, regardless of how you do it and what you utilize to do it, there's definitely ways to get the grind done faster and to reduce the amount of time it takes to get it done. But at the end of the day, regardless of what you're doing, this grind is still going to take an extremely long time. It's going to take a good amount of in-game days played to obtain this camo, and it's just extremely lengthy grind. So just be prepared and just know that it is obtainable. You can get this camo as a normal person, and I truthfully wish you the best of luck on your journey to get Nebula. If you are working on Nebula right now, or you're just starting out, or wherever the case might be, I truthfully wish you the best of luck in getting Nebula, and I have full faith that whoever you may be, you are capable of getting this camo. I think that if I'm able to get this camo, then you can too. But yeah, that's gonna be it for me, guys. Again, I hope you guys did find this video helpful, and I hope you're able to learn something, and of course I hope you were able to enjoy this video. If you did learn anything and you did find this video enjoyable, then please give this video a like, and if you want more content like this, then please subscribe to the channel. But that's gonna be it for me, guys. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and again, I wish you guys the best of luck in getting this camo, and yeah, bye guys, have a good one.